This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, Mountaineer fans? Welcome back to Mountaineer Moment. We got some football to talk about. The Mountaineers are fresh off of a victory over the Robert Morris Colonials by a final score of 45-3. We're going to break down what we saw from this one. And, 5 major takeaways from this win over Robert Morris in the season opener, in the first game of the second installment of the Rich Rod era. And so we've got you covered here on Mountaineer Moment, a brand new podcast covering West Virginia football and basketball. If you're new, whatever platform you are on, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, please consider subscribing to the podcast. It helps us. It helps you be in the know when we have new episodes to release. We had lots of pregame coverage leading up to this week one, and game just went final a little bit ago, and we're hopping on right away to break down the action. And again, giving 5 specific takeaways from this win, good, bad, or indifferent. From the 45-3 win over Robert Morris. Now, the game started out rather sloppy, right? Mountaineers had 4 fumbles in the first half. 4 fumbles, 3 of which resulted in turnovers for the Mountaineers. Not pretty at all. And that resulted in the Mountaineers just taking a 10-3 lead into the half, and that is not what you want against Robert Morris. Just not pretty. Not a good look. And, the atmosphere overall was electric. Rodriguez leading the team in, and again, that, met the hype leading into the game. And man, again, still surreal to think that Rodriguez is the head coach of the West Virginia Mountaineers football team, but here we are. And then you go out, Mountaineers, first offensive drive, it resulted in a Nicco Marchiol touchdown on the ground. Nicco had a good day, more on him in just a second, but after that, wasn't a whole lot working in the first half. West Virginia moved the ball. They, almost tripled the Robert Morris yardage despite only being up 10-3 on the half. And again, that was as a result of these 3 fumbles that were lost by the Mountaineers. Just costly mistakes that if those happen against, you could legitimately probably say like any other team on West Virginia's schedule, that's going to be not only a tough pill to swallow, but a hard hill to climb. And fortunately for the Mountaineers, it happens in week 1 against Robert Morris, where they're able to bounce back, get right in the second half, and still able to cover like that massive spread of 38.5 points, I think it was, that they were favored to win by. Again, 45-3 was the final. But here's 5 takeaways that I have that we all can have from this win over Robert Morris and Rich Rod's debut with the new look Mountaineers. Throughout the broadcast, they were saying 81 new players on the roster. You've heard 72, 75 throughout the offseason, but 81 was the number they shared. Pretty crazy. And here we go. 5 things we learned. Number 1 is, outside of Rich Rodriguez coming back, this is the main storyline, in the offseason, into camp, and up until 2 o'clock today. Nicco Marchiol appears to be the guy. Nicco Marchiol appears to be the guy. Now, we know the story throughout the offseason. We know the story with the depth chart that was released in game week, that it was Nicco Marchiol or Jalen Henderson or Max Brown or Khalil Wilkins or Scotty Fox, right? 5 names and no indication of who's going to start at quarterback. Now, Nicco running out there and getting the first reps, getting the first snaps with the offense isn't a surprise by any stretch of the imagination. Right, he probably would have been the favorite to be that guy to run out with them. But I think what surprised me a little bit, now a bit of this is largely due to the fact that we had a 10-3 lead at half, but we didn't see another quarterback until the fourth quarter. we didn't see Jalen Henderson check into this game until Mountaineers had a 31-3 lead with 12 minutes left. That's when Jalen Henderson came in for, I believe, 2 drives. Helped us get to a 38-3 lead. Then Scotty Fox comes in, and on his third play as a freshman, takes a 59-yard run to the house for a touchdown to extend it out to a 45-3 lead, where it ended up going final. And then Khalil Wilkins took a couple snaps on that final drive with a minute left. But and Max Brown didn't play. Rich said post-game that he had, or didn't dress. He had a hamstring issue he was dealing with. He said that post-game, so did not dress for this one. But again, all the talk leading into the season, and Nicco was the only quarterback to play into the fourth quarter, right? 12 minutes left is when the quarterback change came, and for all we knew, it was going to be Nicco's going to get a drive, Jalen's going to get a drive, Nicco's going to come back in, and then Max Brown's going to get a look, and then Scotty Fox is going to start the third quarter, and we really didn't know what we were getting into, and so it's a bit of a surprise. Now, again, fumbling the ball 4 times in the first half is a bit of a surprise too, but Nicco played every down of this game while it was still a game and a little bit beyond. He had a nice touchdown to pass to Cam Vaughn, the only touchdown pass on the day, to extend that lead to 31-3 before checking out in the fourth quarter. But, so is Nicco the guy? It appears to be, right? I think if this does anything for us, because if we were going to have, we could have very well been sitting here talking about how Nicco and Jalen Henderson both had 15 pass attempts, both saw the field for 6 drives, whatever. But we're not sitting here having that conversation. So I think what this does, this fact that Nicco played so much, this fact that he played well, he completed 17 of his 20 pass attempts for 224 yards, and again, I think a 46-yard touchdown pass on a really pretty good ball, and then a fabulous catch over the shoulder by Cam Vaughn for a touchdown. He also had 13 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown, so got some of the workload there. But I think what this does, long story short, is we're going into next Saturday, and you bet Nicco Marchiol's, he's the starter. He just is. He just is. That's the situation we now have. And 24 hours ago, we did not have that situation. We knew someone was going to come out and start. We knew it probably would have been Nicco, but it was never said. And though it hasn't been verbalized, it's now been shown in what just happened in week 1. Nicco Marchiol is the quarterback. Rodriguez has given us no reason to believe otherwise. Nicco Marchiol is the guy. That's number 1. We didn't know that. Now we know that. That's a takeaway. That's big. Number 2, again, these fumbles. We cannot turn the ball over. Just said it, but that's a huge... we couldn't do a breakdown episode of the game that we just watched and neglect to mention that West Virginia turned the ball over 3 times on fumbles, fumbled 4 times, and Khalil Wilkins dropped the ball on the last play of the game. If you count that one, that would be 5. But 4 fumbles in the first half, sloppy play, and just not good. Again, with all due respect to Robert Morris, if West Virginia was playing anybody else on their schedule, that would be a world of trouble. And it was a little bit of trouble there in the first half, right? And, think about even the first half. Look, West Virginia allowed just 81 yards to Robert Morris on offense. They had 234 yards themselves, despite all those miscues, and yet only had a 7-point lead. So those guys that fumbled in the first half, that coughed up the ball and gave it to the other team, include Cam Vaughn, who made a nice catch and then hurdled somebody, then got hit and dropped it. Ended up, he was on the 10, 15-yard line, 20-yard line, and it ended up squirting through the end zone, and Robert Morris recovered it there. Orion Singleton fumbled, after a catch and run, and then Grayson Barnes, a little catch and run, he dropped it as well, and that just allowed Robert Morris to stay in the game. We cannot allow that to happen against any other team moving forward. Next week, a prime example, Ohio, on the road. They just took Rutgers and gave them all that they could handle at Rutgers and came up short. I think it was 34-31 final in that one in week 1. But Ohio's going to be hungry in week 2, and we got to take care of the football. Got to take care of the football. That's a takeaway from this bizarre amount of fumbles that the West Virginia football team just had. Number 3. And this is just based on what I saw and what I felt as I was watching the progression of this game. The third point is that the linebackers proved to be the most impressive position group to me in week 1. From the start, Braden Siders was making things happen on the first couple drives with a deflection, ended up getting a fumble recovery himself. Chase Wilson, Reed Carrico were everywhere. Chase Wilson had 6 tackles, a sack, and 1.5 tackles for loss. Carrico had 4 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 TFLs as well. Again, so many new players on this roster. We know Carrico. He's been here. We've heard what Chase Wilson's capable of, and you like what you see there. But these linebackers were making it happen, and good to see. Again, it's against Robert Morris, but when you hold any team to 37 carries, 53 yards, and that's good for not even $1.50 a carry, that's a good sign. And the linebackers were getting in the backfield, disrupting plays. They were getting in passing lanes. This was very, very, very encouraging. To me, that's the position group that impressed the most. Another shout out to the lineman, Hamden Russell, the 4th, who's been here, 2 sacks and 2.5 TFLs for him. He was a monster up front for the Mountaineers. But the linebackers were the story to me on defense. Number 4. Again, not a shocker, but I think something that's just more solidified because you know there's so many new players, so many new variables. It's such a new system. Everybody's learning this new scheme. But number 4 is this simple, plain fact that Jahiem White and Cam Vaughn, their play is so very important this season. So very important. I mean, Cam Vaughn proved to be the target for Nicco. They seem to already have some chemistry. Seemed to be his favorite target. Had 7 catches, which led the team. He ended the day with 126 yards, and again, that 1 touchdown on a 46-yarder over-the-shoulder grab for him. So Cam Vaughn, we knew what he was capable of coming over from Jack State, 800 yards last season. Comes with Rich Rod, knows the offense a little bit here, and he's going to be a factor. And I think the best way to put it, with he and Jahiem both, is just this simple idea that if West Virginia is going to find success this season, Cam Vaughn and Jahiem White are going to be major parts of that. Like, there's just no denying that. These guys are crucial. Again, West Virginia, we've talked about it in pregame, leading up to week 1, that West Virginia has a lot of guys in the wide receiver room that have caught a lot of passes, went for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns other places. And that will come, and that will be showcased throughout the season. But what was showcased today is that Cam Vaughn is a threat. And despite the fumble, 7 catches, 126 yards, a 46-yard touchdown is a pretty good day for his first day in the Gold and Blue. He's going to have to be big all season. Jahiem White, again, same thing, but it's no secret here. He's a star. Coming off 2 solid seasons, but now CJ Donaldson, who he was splitting carries with last year and the year before, is on to Ohio State, where, by the way, he had 19 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown in the win for Ohio State over number 1 Texas. So, I mean, no ill will towards CJ. I'm happy for him in that performance and for him to get the win with Ohio State. Might catch some flack for that one, but just saying. Jahiem White. So goes Jahiem, so goes this team, and he's the feature back. There's no doubt about it. And we'll talk about this in another episode, but we don't really know yet who is going to be backing up Jahiem White. We know the names. We don't know who's going to be the primary backup, or if there is going to be one. We'll talk about that in another episode coming up. But, man, again, if the Mountaineers are able to find success this season, Jahiem White is huge. He's huge, his performance, because he is the guy. I mean, he's the name you recognize on offense as a returner, and certainly just as a returner, but based on what he's done in the Gold and Blue. And now that CJ's not here, and you didn't, and Jalen Knighton's not playing, Jahiem White's the guy. He's so important, so important. That's number 4. Again, we knew that, but like, it's not like, Clay Ash and Sincere Bowers who got carries today. It's not like they looked bad or anything like that, but they're not Jahiem White. Let's just say that. They're not Jahiem White, so Jaheim's important. 5th, and finally, I was intrigued by Zac Alley and his defense. Obviously, holding the Colonials to 70 yards through the air on 7 of 22 passing. That will take every day. Again, 37 carries, 53 yards. So, 123 yards of total offense is such a thing to see, a beautiful thing. And his debut in Morgantown, to me, leaves us hungering, thirsty, whatever you want to say, for more. Zac Alley's defense, and again, he didn't have to show a ton of different looks and schemes and plans and adjustments, but I'm excited to watch this defense. They were flying around. You could tell the effort was there. Getting in the backfield, getting in passing lanes. Again, I don't care who you're playing against. 7 for 22 through the air and 37 carries for 53 yards. Well, we love that. And I'm looking forward to seeing Zach's mind even at work when there is adversity. Because West Virginia's going to get scored on this year. Not just 3 points against Robert Morris, but there's going to be touchdowns. There's going to be explosive plays. We know Zac Alley and the aggressive nature of his defense are going to give up some explosives. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see Zach play a game of chess, right? He didn't have to play chess today, very clearly. And who knows? Maybe next week we'll get a little more flavor of Zac Alley and his defense. But one thing I do know, again, the 5th point, is that this defense will be fun to watch. I'm so happy, so thrilled that Zac Alley came over from Oklahoma to rejoin Rich Rod, and just super stoked for what the defense is going to look like this season. So that, my friends, here on Mountaineer Moment, those are 5 takeaways from the Week 1 win, 45-3 over Robert Morris for the West Virginia Mountaineers. Again, another episode coming even before we get to pregame coverage, pregame action for Ohio. Coming up next Saturday, another episode that will shortly follow this one. These 5 takeaways are 3 questions that I think still need answered after Week 1. And not to say that there's not 30, but there's 3 things that stick out in my mind of things that I'm just curious to see get answered. And the only way they're going to get answered is as the season progresses. So be on the lookout for that episode and more. Again, don't forget to subscribe because the Morgantown Moment is here to stay. We're here all season long. And we'll see you next time on Morgantown Moment, Mountaineer Moment, whatever you want to call it. We'll see you next time.